is a delight, and how can focusing on our delights help us live the fulfilling life we were meant to live? Those are the questions we're going to attempt to answer today. I'm here with Matt Bain. He wrote our very first guest post for the Expectation Gaps and is also doing our very first interview for the Expectation Gaps. So trying something new today. His post was an introduction to the concept of a delight, and it was also a call of action to all of us to make recognizing our delights a daily practice. And his post was inspired by a book written by Ross Gay, which I know you're not going to be able to see on camera here, but I have it here. And it's entitled The Book of Delights, appropriately enough. And it's a book of essays that Ross wrote over the period of a year. And Ross introduces his book with these words. I'd like to read just a little bit of it. He says, "One day, last July, feeling delighted and compelled to both wonder about and share that delight, I decided that it might feel nice, even useful, to write a daily essay about something delightful. I remember laughing to myself for how obvious it was. I could call it something like the Book of Delights. I came up with a handful of rules. Write a delight every day for a year, begin and end on my birthday, August 1st. Draft them quickly and write them by hand. The rules made it a discipline for me, a practice. Spend time thinking and writing about delight every day." And I am intrigued by the concept of a delight because to me it's just another form of deliberate thinking. It gives us another tool to use to realize our full potential. But enough from me. We're going to turn it over to the man of the hour here. And Matt, how would you define a delight?
Well, my view that's slightly or mostly colored by Ross's and looking up the exact definition, and then Ross talks about it as being something that I knew that, but I just hadn't thought about it in a while, or
right.
It's just something I know that just came to me, like why did it take so long for me to shift focus over and think of it in another way?
So it's something that's triggered, it's more of a thought or a memory that's triggered by something that happened during your day?
I would say it's another way of looking at something that, looking at something, an object or an experience that you come across, a visual, taking the time versus when you just pass something and you see it, or stopping and taking a full breath, or even, just opening your eyes fully to it and just sitting there and forcing yourself to take it in.
So reflecting on it.
It definitely takes reflection. There's plenty of times where I pass things or I don't think directly about it, and then when I first started this, just thinking of it more of counting your blessings. So think of it sort of like a blessing, an imagistic blessing. When you go back through your day mentally and you're thinking, well, I have to write something, then all these different phenomena start popping up. Like, I forgot that even happened.
Just
or when you're speaking about your
once
day.
you sit down and actually start going through the exercise, you start having thoughts, like you start thinking of delights, or however you want to say it, that you wouldn't have thought of if you weren't writing it, if you weren't taking that, making that a practice.
Correct. Yeah. For myself, when I go back through the day, automatically things start to pop. I just keep repeating the word things, but so it could be, they talk about an essay. I had categorized them into a visual or an experience that you might have been a part of. It could even be a lot of times when you're writing. Even when you sit down to write, you start thinking of different words, and you want to know, what does that word exactly mean? You even start to look at the words differently. What is that word? Something like ephemera or ephemeral. Maybe most people don't use that, but
right.
If you're writing that as a writer, you'll use these words.
Is that most people don't use it. And that
in
itself is a delight.
Or even words like legitimate. We say things like that, and then we go back, and if you really stop, what does that mean?
Right.
Legitimate. Where did those sounds come from? What is the root of that?
So even that makes it seem like something you take for granted. It's partly recognizing things that you take for granted, even like a simple word like legitimate that you hear well, especially now, people overuse it. Even that, it's recognizing something different about it.
Yeah, I would.
That you may have taken for granted.
I can't remember the specifics, but a psychologist, philosopher, Daniel Robinson, was talking about, I want to say the term is heuristics, or what we use that makes us so successful as a species to be able to, live at light speed and to adapt and to create all the things that we, to create the human world that we've created and how it just exponentially builds. And that makes us so efficient as a species.
Right.
But on the spiritual side, what it can do is that when we live at light speed, we are going past without taking notice of a lot.
Sure.
So now I think we're starting to look back. There's all these different little maladies that we don't even realize. There's nothing really wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with you, but then why do I feel like this loss or this empty spot? Then what's wrong? So if there's nothing really wrong, then what is wrong? Where does that feeling come from, or what are we missing? And I think maybe we've gotten to the point where we've almost ran past the best mark, and we think that that's our best feature as a species is just exponential growth.
Right.
But I think maybe we've missed the mark a bit in how busy we are.
So is that how you could see the light? So as I mentioned, how at the beginning, how can we use a delight to live the fulfilling life we were meant to live? Is that how you would see it being used? Is that you use it to slow yourself down, to pull back from the bombardment of information that we're getting and the bombardment of thoughts we get on a daily basis, and you use it to pull back from that and recenter yourself almost?